I'm a fan.
And welcome to this week's edition of Tracking the Wolves. I'm Blake Day with NSU Athletics. This is the final edition of Tracking the Wolves for the year, so let's get things started. The Northern State baseball team beat the University of Mary last Wednesday in both games of the doubleheader, winning Game 1 4-3 and winning Game 2 13-3. NSU then went down to play Southwest Minnesota State this past weekend, going 1-3 in Marshall, Minnesota. The Wolves finished the regular season 28-17 overall, and 21-13 in the NSIC, finishing 6th in the overall standings. For the first time since 1997, the NSU baseball team has clinched a berth in the NSIC tournament. Northern's 28 wins this year ties the school record for wins in a season set in 1974 and 1976. The NSU men's and women's track and field squads competed in their last meet of the season before next week's NSIC Outdoor Championships this past weekend at the Howard Wood Dakota Relays down in Sioux Falls. Andrew Johnson led the Wolves men with a pair of top 10 finishes at the meet. Johnson took second place in the 100-meter dash, running a time of 10.84. Johnson then took 8th in the 200-meter dash, finishing in 21.98. Devin Olson got another second place finish for NSU in the javelin with a throw of 177 feet and 1 inch. Alex Webster led the NSU field events as she took second in the javelin with a throw of 129 feet 6 inches. Gina Burley took 6th in the high jump for the Wolves, recording a jump of 5 feet 4 1/4 inches, and Nick Crayons recorded a season high in the pole vault with a vault of 13 feet 7 1/4 inches, taking 12th. And we will be right back with a year in review of NSU Athletics, and we'll bring in Associate Athletic Director Zach Flackus to help us out.
NCAA championships are something special.
Filled with memories we will carry with us for the rest of our lives.
We ask that you cheer hard for your institutions.
Acting responsibly and courteously towards those around you.
In the spirit of sportsmanship, enjoy the game, and let's provide our student athletes, coaches, officials, and fellow fans the respect they deserve.
Welcome back to Tracking the Wolves. I'm Associate Athletic Director Zach Flackus, and today I'm joined by Blake Day, Marketing and Promotions for NSU Athletics. Blake, how you doing?
Fantastic. Ready to kind of wrap things up for the year. And
yeah, this is our last show of the year, so kind of looking forward to it. Have you enjoyed this year doing this?
I have. It's been kind of a new experience for me. You know, last year I didn't do much with it, but being able to talk to our athletes on a week-to-week basis, it's been really great. I mean, we've got some fantastic student athletes, and just kind of getting to know them a little bit better. You know, tell some background, their career plans. You know, as students, you know, the student athlete aspect of it.
Well, and you get to see so much of their personalities come out. You know, they get in front of the camera and they're a little bit shy here and there. But now, your background at South Dakota State, TV show similar to this that they did or no?
You know, we did. Basically, a lot of that was geared towards more the multimedia aspect. I didn't have anything to do with it. But I was a guest on it one time. Usually they would focus on either one athlete or maybe a lot more of the athletic director interviews, that kind of thing.
Well, this is, you know, John Romeo and Paul Malsoff have kind of brainstormed, put this together, and then they have Nate and Jeremiah that have helped. And this show's been really good. I'm surprised at how many viewers we have and how many people watch it. So it is really good for Northern Athletics. And you just get to talk, you know, just kind of like we are now. You just get to, you know, recap the year, recap a season, recap a weekend even for the sports team. So I cannot forget to wish Nate Thompson a happy birthday. I know this is his birthday. Nate, I think you're 29 again, so happy birthday to Nate Thompson. We'll give you a wink on the 29. But with that, I think we can start recapping our season. Now, this is your second year at Northern.
It is, yeah.
I've been here 14 years, but I think overall this has got to be one of the better seasons we've had in recent years. Seems like we had a lot of ups, a few downs here and there, but compared to last year, and especially that 2 years ago, the U.S. Bank results are not out yet as far as how Northern finished in the conference. 2 years ago, I think we were 13th out of 14th. Last year, I think we were 10th out of 16 or so, and I think this year we'll finish in the top 10 somewhere, 8, 9, maybe 10, depending on how we're doing. But to recap the season, when you look back at the fall season, football, volleyball, soccer, cross country, had a pretty good year. I know you had some stats there and some highlights from the fall, but why don't you recap a little bit about the fall seasons for us?
Absolutely. I think, to really start off, it's, volleyball in the fall. I think, obviously there was high expectations coming in, and I mean, volleyball, finishing 4th in the conference, making it, they ended up losing to Concordia St. Paul in the conference tournament, but being, ranked in the top 25 for the first time in school history. They just talk about a banner year for NSU volleyball.
Absolutely. They had so many young athletes too.
They did, and I think that's kind of, you really didn't see that coming maybe. You knew that there was potential there, but I mean, to have, Kelsey Chambers, first team all-conference, having her as an All-American, having Drew Smith and Tori Biotz were both also all-conference, and Sammy Nygaard. So if you're able to get, 4 girls on the all-conference team, obviously you're going to have a pretty good year.
And Brent Aldrich, I think this is his 3rd year here, but Coach of the Year, NSIC Coach of the Year, just has really built a good, solid program. Really kind of changed his recruiting. He's putting a lot more resources into a few athletes that are really special, gifted, like you said, but boy, he's got 4 of them on that team. Like you said, we're all conference athletes. So a great banner year for volleyball this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, football a little bit of a down year. Maybe expectations were really high coming in for football, finishing 4-7. But football, I think as you kind of look back at the spring game here recently, I think expectations are going to be, pretty high coming into next year as well for football.
I'd agree with you. And, they part of the record thing comes about with how tough our conference is. When you look at how well the Mankato's of the world did, and Duluth has been a national power forever, and Winona and St. Cloud, and you just see the, how strong our conference is in football. There's not a lot of difference between a team going 7-4 and a team going 4-7. There just aren't any cupcakes anymore, and every weekend that you play football, you got to come ready to play. So.
Yeah, and I think obviously our fans, a lot of people talk about this being a basketball school, obviously with the attendance numbers, but football, I have it right here, had the highest crowd in the NSIC last year. Our home opener last year had over 6,100 fans. We open up next year with, I believe, Winona. Am I correct on that? A night game. We have Augustana up here as a night game. So, I mean, I think you're looking at a couple big games there, and the attendance numbers were here for football as well.
Well, and it's nice to see. You can tell the caliber and the quality of student-athlete just continues to get better and better. 28 academic all-conference kids? Did you get the number? 28 student-athletes on the NSIC all-academic team. So he's putting a great product on the field, and they're good students in the classroom, too. Soccer, I know when you look at our soccer program, he improved. I think it was 5 or 6 wins over what they did the previous year. I think he ended the season 8-2. Here again, had a really young team. Had a couple of injuries in the season that kind of hurt him too, that may have cost him a game or two. But I think Coach Kim brings back a quality program.
They really do. I think when you look at the fall sports, I mean, going into next year, you're really probably going to be expecting big things. Obviously, volleyball, I think they had maybe 2 seniors last year. And football returns a lot, soccer returns a lot. That, I mean, I think, with the year they had, maybe outperformed maybe what they expected, being so young, and then expectations obviously get ramped up when you return so much. And they were an 8-2 team this past year, so a 500 team, and probably could have had a couple games that went either, could have went either way as well.
Well, and even when we look at cross country, I know Sasha Holven, a freshman that comes in and just had an outstanding year. She's got 3 more years with us, so. The men's and women's cross-country teams, kind of young, have a lot of athletes that they're looking for big things in the future. I know Coach Bierke's already got a pretty good recruiting class started that he's pegging in. They've still got a lot of recruiting to do. But so when you look at our fall sports, I think it was a very successful year. Of course, we could always win more games here or there, but when you look at it as a whole, I think we had a very successful year. That kicks off our whole academic year for the university. Seems like when your football program, a program that gets a lot of notoriety, when they have a good season, when they kick off, when you're getting 6,000 fans to a game, it kind of sets up your whole year, and people get excited about it. You roll into our basketball season, which I think a lot of people here are familiar with, and you know, the expectations maybe weren't as high this year. I know both the men's and women's team were picked middle to the lower middle portion of our conference, anywhere from 8th to 10th. Our women's basketball team comes out and wins the north half. So I think Coach Fredrickson had, you know, another coach of the year. Coach Fredrickson just had an outstanding year with just the 2 seniors on his team.
Yeah, I think it's a very similar situation, you know, probably to volleyball was for women's basketball. Obviously, I think they were picked, was it 6th in the North?
Yeah.
To winning the North, and you know, obviously they graduated Allison Kusler and Katrina Kierstad. You know, but I mean, Allison, a 1,000-point scorer,
Yeah.
first team all-conference player. But again, they returned so much of it. So I mean, maybe from the outside perspective, outperformed expectations. You know, probably from the inside, you know, they probably knew they had quite a bit of talent there to do it.
And you know, they end the season nationally ranked. They make it to the regional tournament. You know, so it's here again. The expectations for Coach Fredrickson are very high. The men's basketball program also only had 2 seniors. Very young team. Had some tough injuries. I think they were an unknown commodity because they had so many players that didn't play the previous year that came in and played this year. If you're looking at Carter Evans in the post, or Tyden Storensen, who was coming back off an injury, Seth Bashan had missed part of the previous year to an injury. So you really, you know, it took them a while, I think, to get meshed. Boy, they had some great runs on the year where, you know, they'd win 3, 4, 5 games in a row and really look tough. And then sometimes I think towards the end of the year when you get in the conference tournament, our conference is just so tough.
Yeah.
You can't have a night where you don't shoot well or you don't defend well. Otherwise, you end up getting beat. And you know, I think that's what happened towards the end of the year. There's some games where we're just playing some opponents that are really, really talented.
Yeah, and I think it's a team that really, as the year went on, maybe formed their own identity a little bit. I mean, like you'd said, a lot of young guys. They lost, you know, 4, you know, quality seniors from the year
top
before.
4 scorers from the program.
So, I mean, you know, when you lose a Dustin Tetzloff and a Colin Pryor, there's going to be maybe, I don't know if you say growing pains. I think they really made some strides in a really tight, cohesive team as the year went on. And some guys really stepped up. You saw Seth Bashan really stepped up and said, I want to kind of be the leader of this team. And Tyden, you know, that was my first time getting to see him play, obviously. This is only my 2nd year up here. You know, I hadn't seen him play before. And I think you saw some guys step up and again, bright things hopefully for the future for them as well.
Yeah, and the expectations, especially with the recruiting class that Coach Sather brings in, bringing his coaching staff back, you know, Coach Severide's back. I think there's a lot of expectations for the men's and the women's program. Obviously, they didn't graduate many seniors. Jared Hannigan will be missed. Trent Zomer will be missed. But a lot of expectations for him. Look at another program, an NSU wrestling program. He had several upperclassmen and seniors, but you know, maybe due to injuries, different things in the past. I know Anthony Bruno ended up missing part of the season because he actually have a surgery done. Blake Lundgren ended up messing up his elbow and his shoulder. He ended up really wrestling a lot of young guys, and he found a potential star in Joe Gomez, somebody that's really going to be an outstanding wrestler for Northern for a long time. He's another one of those high academic achieving kids. He's a 4.0, 3.9, whatever he had. So they were a little bit young this year. I think that's something they'll have to build on. Our track program was the same way. Our indoor track program, I think they've got come a long ways in the last couple of years, just in the sheer quality and quantity of the athletes they got. I know on the women's side, our high jumper, Gina Burley, just really kind of came out of nowhere, and she's jumping 5'4", you know. Yep. And then we had a couple of athletes that were placing in the multi-events at the conference track meet for the indoor. Got some pretty good sprinters, distance jumpers. I think Coach Bierke's really building a solid program. We've always had good throwers when you look at our track program. So I think a very solid year out of track, and I think a lot of expectations out of wrestling coming. I know Coach Tim has already signed some athletes for next year that he thinks are going to fill some holes, maybe fill in some weight classes they've lost. So I think here again, our winter season, having another season with a Coach of the Year with Coach Fredrickson women's basketball, and then having a lot of young athletes in all of the sports in our winter seasons brings some pretty good expectations for the coming year.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. And, Joe Gomez is a unique story, too, that, we had him on the show, probably a month or two back. And this isn't an exact quote here, but I think he didn't start wrestling until like his freshman year of high school, which is so unique to me because living from South Dakota, I mean, guys are wrestling when they're 3 years old, it seems like. And to pick up the sport, that late, and then to be, I believe, a state champ as a senior in high school. He got recruited to play college football as well. He was getting some offers. So, I mean, just a really unique athlete, and to be able to pick it up and to compete at a very high level, Division II wrestling that quickly, it's impressive. And so bright things for him and a few other guys as well on that squad.
So we've gone through our fall and our winter season. We're still in the midst of part of our spring season. Our baseball team is actually still playing in the NSIC conference tournament. I think they tied the most career regular season wins in the history of Northern baseball. So what a great way to start off that spring sports season is having a baseball program do so well. I don't know how many wins they increased over last year, but I think Josh gave us the numbers, but they increased 5 wins this year. So they were coming off a successful season last year. Here again in our conference, you've got the St. Clouds and the Mankato's. I think Mankato reached number 4 ranking in the country this year. So baseball had a very good season, and they're still going on it. Our softball program, kind of ups and downs. Softball, it's you lose so many games 1-0, or you win so many games 1-0. It's kind of tough. Their record may not reflect, how good of a team they had. But here again, another strong program that just didn't probably get as many wins as they wanted. But I think they return a lot of athletes. They only graduate 1 senior on the softball program. Track and field is still going. They've still got the conference track meet. I know we've already competed in the for the multi-sports, the heptathlon. The men and women, I think we had a place winner in both of those already. So I know Coach Bierke's got big expectations. He's got a few track meets left, but the spring seasons have gone very well also. So here again, overall, when you look at Northern's year, I think it was a year when in some of the sports we exceeded our expectations. Some of them we were right at it. Of course, we had a little bit of disappointment here and there, but a lot of that you could look at and say we had either young athletes, some inexperience, you got some different things. And then our conference is just so tough. Coming from SDSU, had a smaller conference. I don't know how many, they had separate basketball and football, but we've got 16 schools. Yeah. And every year somebody's going to have an outstanding year. So it makes it tough. Hopefully you're the ones like our volleyball team or our baseball team or women's basketball where we've got a program that has an outstanding year. In volleyball, it's, they end up ranked in the country and they're still 4th in our conference. Right. So that's just how strong it is. Baseball, the same thing. I mean, Dean Barry's going to be one of the candidates for Coach of the Year in baseball also. 28 and 15 or 13, whatever it is, but they're just playing nationally ranked competition all the time, and it makes it tough to compete, but I think that's what we strive for, and the student athletes that you talk to them a lot more than I do. I think that's what they really look for is, hey, here's an opportunity to compete against some of the best athletes in the nation at the Division II level by being in our conference. So,
well, I think we've kind of got a common theme of all these teams is that they are really young. Yeah. I mean, it just seems like every time we talk about, boy, they were successful, but boy, they only graduate 1 or 2 seniors. Yeah. I mean, it really seems like that for almost every single sport. So, I mean, as you talk about going into next year, putting a bow on this year and going into next year, you've got to think the expectations are really going to be pretty solid for mostly all of our sports. It's kind of a unique situation, and so it's an exciting time to be here at Northern, that's for sure.
Well, and as you look at it, the difference maker in our programs is the support we get out of the community. 100% of our scholarships, you know this, but all of our scholarships come out of the community. That's the difference maker. When you look at the baseball program, he had a couple of individuals step up. They gave him an extra $5,000 to $7,000 that he had for scholarships and to recruit with. Well, especially in baseball, a pitcher here, a pitcher there, and maybe a third baseman that can hit, and you've got a completely different team. Our basketball programs and our football program the last several years, their scholarship funding has gotten much better. There's still more things we can do. There's a lot of difference between an in-state athlete and an out-of-state athlete, how much you can give them for scholarship, how your teams travel, where you're staying in hotels. There's a lot of things that go into recruiting a student athlete. And it all comes down to you as the the donor, the alumni, the community supporter out there, helping Northern. Those are some awfully big things. So I know you got a couple of events this summer that go right into that, that we get support of. You're in charge of the Walks Golf Tournament. Why don't you give us the dates, times, and a little rundown on the Walks Golf Tournament?
Yep, we do. We have the Walks Golf Classic, June 29th and 30th.
Also, it's a week early this year.
It will be a week early. Typically, we're after the 4th of July. Kind of move things around a little bit this year. That we're going to bump it up a week, and it'll be out at Moxon Creek Country Club. It's a Sunday night putting contest, prime rib dinner, Monday golf tournament. We typically have 180 golfers. 36 5-man teams. It's really, last year was my first year here for it. Just a really fun event. It's kind of a combination of a fun golf tournament, but at the same time, we've got the Calcutta involved, and
Absolutely.
it makes it a little really competitive at the same time. I mean, it's an all-inclusive. I mean, we really stressed that last year, being an all-inclusive golf tournament. Nice prizes for everybody signing up. The meals and everything. It's really just a fun event, and we're definitely looking forward to year 2 of me being involved with it, of trying to continue to improve on it from last year.
And of course, it's named after Northern's legendary basketball coach Bob Walks, who was at Northern for a long time. I don't even, do you know the year this year? Is this the,
This is the 29th annual.
29th annual. Wow,
Yep.
That's a long time to have anything, much less a golf tournament.
Yep.
So, in the same aspect, I think this is the 26th year of the Wolves on the Water Fishing Tournament. We're going to have that at the end of the May. It's May 30th and 31st. Same thing. We'll have anywhere between 115 and 130 3-person teams. One of the largest fishing tournaments on the Missouri River system and in the 5-state area. A great event. We've still got openings for that. We've got another month before that tournament kicks off. But just a great fundraiser for Northern. All the proceeds from it go into athletic scholarships. Same way with the Walks Golf Tournament.
Yep.
So,
and we talk about that is really the only way that we continue to improve our athletics programs.
Absolutely.
is through scholarship support. I mean, we have a long way to go in in that aspect of it, and when it comes to recruiting, I mean, facility upgrades, and scholarship support, and it all comes from those events, and so those are really key.
Well, and we've got a lot of big things on the horizon as we look. Your office is over in the foundation, my office is in the athletic department, but some of the capital things we've looked at, we really need to make some improvements to some facilities one of these days, and some of them are huge. The dream of having a football stadium on campus. Some of them are kind of simple, remodeling a volleyball/softball locker room. So there's a lot of different things we have going on, like you said, that help with the recruiting, help with the programs, give them the success, give them the opportunity to recruit the type of student athletes that, the alumni expect, the people in the community expect. So a lot of big things going on. This is our last episode of the year, so we figured we'd do a little bit of a recap and let everybody know what's going on. So I'll let you sign off, and that's all I got for today.
Absolutely. We thank you for joining us today and for really tuning in all year long. We're definitely looking forward to get going with it again next fall and getting our student athletes on here and just letting everybody realize, what quality student athletes we really do have here, because we do. And we found that out this year of just really getting to know them and, kind of a day-to-day what's going on with NSU athletics. So it was great being a part of it this year, and we're definitely looking forward to it next year.
All righty. This has been Zach Flackus and Blake Day for Tracking the Wolves.
We know you want family-friendly sporting events.
Sporting events where you can be comfortable
and entertained in a positive environment. Watching great individuals and teams compete.
With commitment, effort, and good sportsmanship. That's what the Division II Game Environment Initiative is about.
Be a part of the excitement and find out why.
These student athletes say with pride,
I chose
Division II.
And welcome back to Tracking the Wolves. Northern State's Mariah Nelson from the track and field team and Riley Schinthofer from baseball have been named as Qdoba Scholar Athletes of the Week for their academic and athletic efforts this past week. Each week, Qdoba Mexican Grill honors 2 athletes for their efforts on the field of play. Nominees must hold a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or higher to qualify. Mariah Nelson and the Wolves competed in the Howard Hood Relays in Sioux Falls this past weekend, as she took home a pair of top 10 finishes in the shot put and discus. Nelson recorded a throw of 41 feet, 3 1/4 inches in the shot put, and a toss of 134 feet, 11 inches in the discus. Riley Schinthofer was a key spark for the Wolves baseball team in their hunt to make the conference tournament. Riley went 7 for 17 in the 4 games played with 8 RBI, 3 runs scored, and a home run. His best game came against SMSU in Northern's win over the weekend. Schinthofer recorded 3 hits, 5 RBI, 2 runs scored and the home run in the 24-13 victory. Up next for NSU baseball, they will begin the NSIC tournament Wednesday down in Sioux Falls. The Wolves will be the number 6 seed in the tournament, facing number 3 seeded St. Cloud State at 3 p.m. at Sioux Falls Stadium. The Wolves won their only meeting with St. Cloud earlier this year, 8-5 down in Arizona. The NSU track and field team will be at the conference outdoor meet next week in Winona, Minnesota. The dates of the meet are Friday and Saturday, May 9th and 10th. For up-to-date information, schedules, results, and official Nike gear of Northern State Athletics, go to our website at northernstatewolves.com and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Wolves Athletics. Thanks for watching this season. We'll see you next fall, and go Wolves!